We are so unbelievably back. Yes, guys, welcome back to the Cannon podcast.
Oh, mate.
Oh, my word. Thank the heavens above. We've got a win. Arsenal 3, Nottingham Forest 0. George, we're back. I've missed you. It's been a week.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. We're here. Mate, there is so much to talk about in this. I have no idea where to start. I'm so happy and so pleased. The most important thing, there's so much on the football side.
Yeah.
And we could have done this and scraped a 1-0 win. I'd be feeling happy. And we'll talk about how we did it. But just the fact that we have done it, we've got a win, we've got over that hump. I'm so relieved, bro.
Look,
my God.
Do you know what it is? I think it's not even you, but the team needed that. There was a level of us losing a little bit of not just identity, but I think a little bit of momentum, right? And everybody could feel it. Whether you wanted to talk about the context for why or how, there was a little bit of us needing to find ourselves in this break. And I'm not going to lie, like there's a part of it that makes sense. I mean, you have a functioning left-hand side. Everybody knows what I'm going to talk about. First time Calafiori and Marino have been able to start. And it's no shock to me that I think that we've looked a lot better and more balanced. I think it's interesting. I had to look at the lineup and I just thought, okay, that's brave, by the way. He picked a small space game for a team that are transition monsters and have been giant killers on the transition. So I think it's gonna go past people. That was a very brave, in my opinion, lineup selection by Mikel, particularly with Trossard and Jesus, who I think is a dynamic. With that, he trusted the left-hand side to have enough of an effective overlap, and I thought that was really good. There was a lot of really good performances, mate. I mean, Bukayo Saka is the heartbeat of this team. That guy is too good in general. But I think a lot of our big players stepped up today. I look at Martin Odegaard had a top game. Bukayo Saka, top game. William Saliba, my God, the distribution from the back was really, really good. And I think our dominant ball players came to play. And it was just one of those things where I just feel relieved. I felt comfortable. At no point in that game did I stress. And we needed that. We needed an easy day. We were talking off air, and I just think we needed, I was talking pre-break, we needed a 5-0. This is as good as that. It's a 3-0.
Performance that warranted a 5-0.
Absolutely. And you can end on Ethan Nwaneri. If you really want to talk about that. And he's just a joke.
I think you do.
I do.
Wow. We'll come to him. Yeah, dude. Yeah, the weight has been lifted. And it's only Nottingham Forest. They're like fifth. They're a really good side. They had absolutely nothing for us. It's just such a huge weight. And I'm so proud of the team because, we're chatting all the international break, talking about, central access and all these things and saying, can we come back from this and the mental side of it? And, the players, they aren't stupid. They realize they're 9 points off Liverpool. They've got 2 weeks to wait. Stuff has gone through everyone's heads, I'm sure, in terms of is this just not our season? And I'm not going to go too far to one win, but in terms of that thing of are we actually as good as we thought we were? And all those sorts of things. That performance, we know we have that in us. And that's what's been the frustration so far this season. We know we have that performance in us.
Yeah.
Tactically, physically, technically, mentally, every aspect of the game was perfection. Honestly, I was so pleased with that. And to do that after all the pressure of the last few weeks is unbelievable. It's a huge weight lifted. Let's start. Okay, I want to start technically. I thought today, in terms of Raya's distribution, Trossard's passing, Martin Odegaard's performance, Bukayo Saka in the 1v1s, Calafiori, Marino in the second balls, all the things that we need in each individual profile to do, Saliba winning his duels, Gabriel stepping, whatever it is, whatever you want, apart from a few players. I think everyone technically was absolutely on it today. The sharpness and the crisping of the crispness of the passing, the firing through the lines, everything was executed brilliantly today. I want to come on to the game plan in a second, and it was brilliant. But you have to have good execution. And that's what I feel has been off for a while, that we've just been sort of missing balls, missing chances, giving stuff away. We were on it today. We were locked in. I love that.
What I loved was the tempo of pass. It was aggressive. And not just between the lines, but I'm talking the pace of pass. It seemed like everybody had zip on the pass. Yep. And if anything, there was miscontrols because the pass was hard. And I like that. When you're looking for confidence, you want to send messaging and you want to be able to project confidence. And you do that with a firm pass. I firmly believe that. I mean, there's times to be cute. There's times to find things through a telephone booth, which is what we did in terms of our first goal. But I think for a team that lacked confidence, there needed to be confident delivery. And we saw that. And I think that was really evident. Another thing is redundancy in terms of your angles. So we talk about distribution and it being brilliant, but mate, we've got left footers in areas that they need to be in. We don't have a left-hand side for as great as Timber, who I thought looked very springy today. Definitely fitness-wise took a jump up in my estimation, but just the angles that a right footer has at left back, you could see what it limited in terms of how the team was able to open up, because Forest had this like typical 4-2-4 block that they were doing in terms of trying to stop progression through the middle of the park. But I think the way that Calafiori, who I thought actually had a pretty reserved game by his standards,
very pulled back,
was, I think it showed a level of just humility to what the team needed. The team saw things to expose on the right, so he didn't take his maverick nature to impose it on the game, and instead filled in very intelligently where he was needed to be. And that was the story of the left-hand side for me. It was intelligent filling of zones. And you do that, you open up angles, you start messaging with authority in your pass, you see a more fluid technical performance. So I think it was brilliant in that sense. I do want to say, and just really quickly shout out Jorginho, who I think has not had the minutes this season, but I thought that was, again, I'm going to repeat it, a very brave lineup by Mikel, because you're talking about Awanihi, Alenga, Callum Hudson-Odoi. As far as teams outside the top six, Nottingham Forest potentially have the greatest transition threat.
100%.
And to pick a team, by the way, a small space team in the middle of the park, that said, I want you all to dominate, to press, to camp in their half, and we're picking a small space team. Why? Because we expect to be in their half for 90 minutes, and we were, and it was brilliant.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you picked Jorginho, because I want to come to him. I thought, Jorginho has his issues, of course he does, but in games like today, in terms of the appreciation on the pass, knowing when to go forward and when to pull back, I think he's got the most mature kind of, this is the most wanky phrase I've ever said, like pass palette in the team, like pass, just basically pass selection, the ability to know, okay, this just needs a second here, I don't need to slam it through the lines, and then also to find those connections inside with whether it's with Martin Odegaard or whoever it might be. Moving on to sort of the more tactical side. Also, one more point on the technical. I thought the balance of technical leaders and physical players was much better today. I don't know exactly how we do it, but in terms of the lineup, I had questions about the lineup 100%, but Trossard specifically, his pass selection and his actions, okay, I could have a look at, but in terms of holding onto the ball, getting out of those tight spaces and playing those passes, technically, Trossard was brilliant today, and I thought the balance was really right. Tactically, I want to talk about Timber and Odegaard in that space on the right-hand side, sort of pulling out, whether it's Odegaard dropping out the block or Timber pulling inside, creating those spaces for Saka, getting him isolated 1v1 against the fullback was so important, so important. And yeah, on the left-hand side as well, I thought Calafiori Marino. Like Marino, he's one of those players, he's such a rewatch player. I don't think about Marino basically ever through a game until I go, oh, you should have won a second ball. And you don't think about him. You never think about him. He's such a rewatch player. And just in terms of facilitation, the amount of times he just pops up in my brain going, oh, he's just blocked a ball, quick progressive pass, and then he's done. That's his game done. And I love that. Tactically, it just sets us up so brilliantly.
He's the crossing guard for people to cross the crosswalk. And, I see.
And I thought it was a basketball reference.
And he's somebody that I think you might sit there and say your job's redundant, but he's necessary to control traffic. And I think, his touch efficiency, his economy of it, he doesn't hold on to it too long. We've got players in that 11. I'm looking at you, Jesus, who like to touch the ball. I'm having, even in terms of, you got your William Salibas, your Timber, there's a lot of players within that front six that are ball dominant players. And we don't have very many. And in fact, the only criticism I can say of the lineup at the start was I thought it lacked runners in general. I don't think you need a runner if you're looking to camp on, an 18-yard box half, which is why potentially you're hoping that this small space team worked. But again, I think when you have so many ball dominant players, you need one or two that maybe don't need to constantly touch the ball to be involved in the game. And I think that he offers that. The one thing is, I think Jesus had really bright movement. It was actually one of the few times I want to shout him out because I'm going to criticize him after this. I thought, like, from a movement perspective, the way that he was pulling center backs out. So when you have a 4-2-4, what's really important is about changing what we call the height of your defensive line. So when you've got basically a back line of 4, if you have a 4-3-3, there's 3 line heights, right? There's the forward line, the midfield, and the defensive line. When you've got a 4-2-4, that just means that there's 4 attackers, quote unquote, 2 midfielders, and then 4 defenders. What's critical about creating space is that they're blocking space in the box as well as blocking the entry into midfield. But what you need to do is you need to draw your center backs out. You need to break that defensive line, change that height so that you can add 1 or 2 in the middle of the park to create space in the box. And Jesus did dummy and unselfish runs constantly all match in terms of dropping in both half spaces, even if he didn't get the ball. Now, my criticism is when he did get the ball, he was chasing his touch. So he's definitely undercooked, and it wasn't perfect, but his movement was really important. And he did the Kai Havertz role about cheating to the right-hand side quite a bit in terms of allowing Bukayo Saka inside. And just going to end on this. You give Bukayo Saka the center of the pitch, he will score, he will impact. Please, for the love of God, can we please platform our strongest players in the 11? It is Bukayo Saka. Our wide players account for something like 85% of our progression from the middle third to the final third. Stop this idea that he needs to go and hold width. He needs to start doing this to help our progression. Stop. That boy is the heartbeat of the team. He goes, and that shot placement was brilliant. It was just he is a different level this season. Can we please just facilitate him? He needs to be put in the middle of the pitch so that he can maximize his influence on the game. And yeah, he was brilliant, mate. He was brilliant.
1.7 expected goals to 0.5, 19 shots for us to their 7, 6 shots on target to their 0. Zero. It's only Nottingham Forest. Passes completed 615, 313 for them. I spy a lovely number. Final third entry 62 to their 29. Progressive passes 47 to their 14. Where's their zone 14 touches? 6. I thought it'd be lower than that. I would love to know their box touches. That'd be very interesting. There's the running XG. You can go check this all out with Scott Willis. 0.5 XG to 1.7 XG. I don't know what that chart is. That the Odegaard chance?
Yeah, I believe so.
I think so. I thought he could have shot a little bit more today. There it is.
Who cares about anything else when you've got a picture like that?
Let's go. Yeah, unbelievable. Obviously, we want to filter. Yeah, and you could, but the suffocation, the work, also from minute 0 to minute 90, and I thought the substitutions were good as well today in terms of taking Calafiori off. Protecting him, and I thought Zinchenko actually had a really good game in that. And in these sorts of games, he is great, and that's the thing. I want to come on to the individuals. I'll give you Ethan. You can have him. Who am I going to go with? I'll have Martin Odegaard, please. I thought Martin Odegaard was extraordinary today, and it's so interesting. So I was talking with someone, and they're using expected assists as a way of judging Odegaard. And at this point, while I get it, I'm a bit like, it goes so much beyond that. He is the link. He is the link in this team. And the way he gets himself out of spaces, the pass appreciation, the link with Saka. I think for Saka's goal, just that little touch, that little flick out of his feet to put Saka into space. And because he knows what's going to happen. In the press, as always, he's unbelievable. He's constantly communicating. He really is the heartbeat of this team. And just in terms, I'm sure there'll be a comp at some point of Odegaard, so we can all have a look at it. But just every action feels progressive. It feels sort of relative to his own teammates. And what I mean by that is he's thinking for them. He's going, you need to go there. You need to go here. I need you here. He is the orchestrator. And, I'm not to do the, how's your agenda now? But to those guys who think he's holding the team back, please watch that game. Stop thinking about him as this David Silva. This isn't who he is. Look at him dropping in and build up. Look at him dropping out the block. He's a midfielder all around. He's a number 8. He's a number 8 who can go close to the box and affect the game as well. I love him so much. He's so good.
He is a tempo setter being judged as an output player. And that's kind of the issue. I mean, if you're going to expect it's the same thing. If you're going to expect a role for somebody, that it isn't suited, you're just going to be left disappointed. So just say that you want more final output from midfield, and it doesn't have to be from Odegaard, but it can be from somebody else in midfield, and maybe it can be from Ethan. Cough, cough. And so I think that's just the issue for me. What Odegaard gives us a lot of times is confidence in terms of where to be and where to stand. And what felt like disjointedness comes to fluidity because for me, it's not really necessarily his range of pass or even what he does on the ball. It's the little things he does off the ball. It's the little cues he makes. And of course, the responsibility he takes on it, he's directing people whilst doing it. So the pass might not be exquisite, or the pass might not be what he can do them, but the pass may not be elaborate, for example. He is somebody that is making the right decisions in transition. And that's something that this team struggles with. That's why Marino, I think, is going to have a brilliant relationship with him. And I think the way that they're able to both access both sides of the pitch, for me, is what was missing. Previously, without Odegaard, I think what we had was a team that was very much left and right. Whereas I feel that we need to include a little bit more central overlap in the team. And both Marino and Odegaard give us an opportunity to be a little bit more open to the width of the pitch, not accessing it, but spreading it. Which will allow entry into the middle. So
I think your point about the sort of the reference is really important. And when Odegaard receives it in that pocket, Saka knows what he wants. Where Marino stood, usually Havertz is in the box waiting for that ball in. Someone's at the back post. It gives everyone a sense of like, okay, here's where we're going to go in the final third. He's such an orchestrator. And by the way, someone made the point in the comments as well, and it's absolutely right. His output is still brilliant. If you actually look at the number of overall, if you want attacking output, it's not KDB, but stop trying to judge him that way. It's bizarre. Let's do a couple of super chats. Harry Scary says, and thank you for the super chat. Good to see that Saka and Odegaard link up again. That'll be key for the league running this season. Ethan Hayland, will come to Ethan in just a second. Yeah, George, it's funny when you get your good players on the pitch, you look good. Weird that. If only we've been saying it for the last 2 months.
No, it's look, it's something that you don't want to say because then it sounds like an excuse for what you've been able to do. But I mean, genuinely, the amount of injuries has been a valid, not excuse, but reason as to why there's disjointedness. And the one thing I'll say about, even just Martin Odegaard is just factually have a look at his big chances created in terms of what he's been able to offer in Europe. I still think he tops that, despite being injured for about a month.
Open play chances created, certainly from the beginning of last Premier League season, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so I mean, it's logical. You lose that, you lose your identity in possession. The only thing is, I want us to be better about platforming the right voices, and everybody. Whenever I say that, I think that means make sure that the players in your pitch that you want to give the ball to the most have the most influence, and they're not doing jobs that are facilitative for other people. That's the only frustration that I think I've had across this season. And it seemed like today, just to loop it back today, that's what we did really well. The players that we needed to, aka your Odegaards, your Salibas, your Bukayo Sakas, your Jorginhos even, your Marinos, they had very good games because they were given the platform to, and it was a game that suited them. So let's try to apply that principle in the games that we have in the future. And I think that will be okay. I'm really struggling not to talk about Ethan. And I'm waiting for the cue to talk about that.
You can do it in a second. I've got something queued up for you. Don't worry.
Okay.
Reggie became a YouTube member. Reggie, really appreciate you becoming a YouTube member. Thank you, sir. Billy Pryor, who's going to take Partey?
I'll take it. I saw the video. You guys got flack.
Jesus. Really sorry, Partey Defense League guys. I'm really sorry.
Oh God. Look, he has been. He looks good. He looks good. And it wasn't just the goal. He looks fit. He looks fit for the first time I've seen in his Arsenal career period. And he looks confident as well. I mean, to take that ball like he did at the top of the box, by the way, that's a brilliant finish. Yep. It's a top. It's
a really
goal.
Good finish. There's a pass to Odegaard in the second half that is unbelievable. It's like, literally like, woof, it's so nice.
Look, part of the frustration is I feel that the way that he plays and the limits that he's actually learning to recognize now. I mean, it makes sense that a player gets older, you have to adapt your game. But I really felt like, this is on him, by the way. I don't love this, but he really should have recognized it much earlier, that his physical game, and it seemed like he was playing how he used to play, and it didn't matter. And that meant that there was a lot more transitions that the team faced as a result of that. But it's undoubted that his ball quality is something that I think he gives us different to anybody in midfield. He's been our most formed midfield player of the season. I maintain that. And, to have him back, I really think that we might see a level of Partey that we actually may look at as quite special when he's not asked to play every game. And it was just really nice that we could decide when to put things in. I think Jorginho and Partey are very good. They're very important, I think, conductors of deep buildup, and we lack enough of those players. And so they become, I don't know, they become probably one of the few experienced players in the squad this season that I can sit there and say, okay, you know what, you've stepped up. Jorginho hasn't had too many minutes to really do that, so I think it's a little bit harsh to really lay that claim. But Partey, in terms of having an experienced midfielder or experienced player step up, that's been a thorn in Arsenal's side for years, potentially decades. So I don't think it erases all the history of what we've known about his fitness levels, but you have to also honestly back that up with he's the form midfielder rather, not player. He's the form midfielder of the team. There are things that definitely he affects in the team, but there's things that he gives us, and he's certainly giving us a level this season that is well due his wage. And that's really all you can ask for from a player at this point in his career. In terms of the future, I think there's a bridge there. We need to think long term. There's going to be a question about that. And there's a 2025 defensive midfielder question that we're going to have to answer. But right now, in the moment, I think he's going to be really important to giving people rest in a really busy period.
Arsenal's youngest goal scorers. Number 1, Cesc Fabregas. Number 2, Ethan Nwaneri, 17 years and 247 days in the Premier League. Look, we've known the name for a long time, and we're starting to see impact and output. He is extraordinary. The way he cushions the ball, his ability to ride things. Murillo is a brilliant. I've looked at Murillo for Arsenal. I love Murillo. He absolutely cooks him. Just quick step over. See ya. Has a shot. That's coming. That goal has been coming. And by the way, it's the same goal he scored in that pocket, just sort of by the D or the edge of the D, in terms of the ball to the back post, but also the ability to get on the end of crosses in that little lane there. There is something incredibly special. He is unbelievable. But George, I know you want to talk, so go.
No, anybody that has watched Ethan Nwaneri is not surprised about this level and what he's been able to show and translate to the adult league. He is a special player. I maintain our biggest regret this season, and Mikel's biggest regret this season, was not platforming Ethan Nwaneri in a period when Martin Odegaard was out. There's no excuse. I'm so happy for him to get the goal. He's constantly in these positions. And that first time finish, by the way, how you stood there and you talk about the finishes outside the 18-yard box? That first time finish from a late arrival in the box is something he's done on repeat in the youth teams. It's something that's a characteristic of his game. I don't think we actually have somebody that's as brave with shooting as Ethan Nwaneri in the squad, period. I even go as far to say, I'm not efficiency, but bravery to shoot, the release.
Maybe Trossard's up there, but I probably agree with you, yeah.
Yeah, maybe Trossard, but I even say Ethan, from anywhere in the pitch, he will test you. And he'll test you like properly. It won't be just a shot in terms of taking, shots that he shouldn't be taking. The shot decision is good, but also the execution is brilliant. The ball striking consistency that he gets in his shots is really something remarkable. And I just think that he's somebody that we're going to have very uncomfortable conversations with in terms of 6 months. And I mean that. I think that, at some point it's becoming an undeniable. It's not at some point. It is for me already undeniable. I mean, I think look at his stats this season. I don't know how many games he's played, but
our second highest goal scorer at this point.
He is our second highest goal scorer with this goal.
Yeah.
Do you know how insane that is in terms of the minutes that he's played to be able to do that? And he's not coming on, mate, in instances where, okay, look, today is a game when maybe it's done. Today is a time where you can maybe say, quote unquote, stat padding. But his ability to influence, and also, did you notice in the game, He's dropping deep in build-up, and he's asking the ball from Gabriel, and he's trusting himself in these zones. And
Gabriel gives it to him.
Yeah, and it's just that, to me, it tells you all you need to know. You don't need to praise the player and insert, 5-yard burst and all these buzzwords. You don't need to do that to describe Ethan. Look at what other people in the team do to him and how they act around him and act to him in the game. I know I keep saying this, repeating it, but they tell you how much they trust him. And that's beyond the coach, right? Because when the game goes on, that all goes out the window. If you don't trust that kid, you're not passing to him. And I think this the way he's got a nonchalantness about him. He's the type to go to the Bernabeu with his headphones in and not smile and just be like, yeah, I'm here to just play football. And it's another day in the office to him. He's got that mental composure. And I just think, mate, if we give him an opportunity, if he's able to start 5 games this season, there are people that are going to be saying he needs to start in midfield for Arsenal consistently.
I see that. I mean, the output to minute ratio at the minute is it's unbelievable. But it's not just the output. It really isn't. It's his quality and build up. He's dropping in. He's winning his duels. He's passing forward. One pass maybe to Sterling that was slightly overhit. But in terms of the impact he's having in his all round game as well, it's unbelievable. And I think you're right. I think this squad was kind of missing someone pushing up the rear a little bit, and I don't mean that to discredit Nwaneri, but I mean literally in age, in terms of we have a sort of group of sort of 22 to 25-year-olds who are all brilliant, and they've been coming through for a while, but I feel like we've been missing someone who's maybe sort of 18, 19, and now 17 in Nwaneri's case, to kind of give us that youthful injection. Because as you say, it's the fearlessness, it's the ability, and someone like him with his ability to say, I'm here, I'm ready, and I'm going to push you. And I'm going to say to you, Martin Odegaard, I'm coming for your spot. Because I know he is. I guarantee in his head, he thinks I can dislodge Martin Odegaard. I'm not saying he will, I'm saying he thinks he can. And that's the crucial part. You see it when he walks on the field. But when he missed his chance, the camera cuts to him and he's walking away and he just doesn't look 17. He just looks like he's just like, okay, I'll get another chance. It's cool. All good. Premier League, no problem. Like absolutely nothing phases him. The way he receives the ball, I know it's so nerdy. It's one of my favorite receivers in our squad. Like Odegaard's close, Saka in certain situations, but in terms of from all angles, just cushioning, turning, it's what we've needed for so long to get us through spaces. Even Odegaard was going on the half turn today. I was going, finally, someone like Timber maybe, but Nwaneri in terms of the reception is so nice.
I just think he's a special player, mate. There's uncomfortable conversations. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
And I think that exactly. But I just think in terms of influence from midfield and accessing central areas, he's one of the few in the squad that I trust explicitly to receive under pressure and to make the right decision and to execute. And that last part is key. I think sometimes that we try to make the right decisions and our execution isn't good from the middle third to the final third. In fact, if you actually look at our statistics, we're actually one of the best teams in the world about getting the ball into the box, but it's wide. And all those touches are wide of the box, and we don't have enough central touches. And he is somebody that creates that, and he creates threat. And I feel like we are a team that can at times lay waste to the U-shape curse. And we can do that. He is a player that ignores those things. He's a player that you throw out tactics for, and you can't defend. You can't defend a 14-yard screamer from somebody that's willing to take it on in tight spaces. You can't defend somebody who is a dribbler that coaxes and is able to sit there and poke and prod defenses and engage them and then release at the right moment. These are things that are incredibly mature, and they don't speak to a 17-year-old. And I'm really tired of us using the same old trope of 17 to describe a player who plays like he's 28.
Yeah. And believes he is. It's unbelievable. I know you're referring to this graph. So this came out from
stand corrected, not 88, 85.2.
Disgusting. How could you get that wrong?
Yes.
But yeah, you can see down here Arsenal's in terms of where we progress the ball sort of successfully. I think Ethan is a huge, but obviously there's so much context to this in terms of lack of Odegaard, etc., etc. This is
Marino and Odegaard together for sure will improve that.
100%. So that will go up, but I think part of that picture is 100% Nwaneri. I'm just going to finish with this. I was so so happy when he scored. I have my TV in my sofa over there. I literally stood up in my lounge and in my room and just clapped on my own. I thought I was home alone. And my housemate, I don't know if you can read that, put bro clapping at a TV. Just to prove, I literally was just like, I love him so much, man. I love him so much. Let's come to some super chats and some questions before we finish off the show. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you are here for the first time, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the video. You can join us over on Patreon, YouTube members for extra bonus content and stuff through the weeks. But we're always here after every Arsenal game. Thank you all for being here. Sutton Explorer, thank you so much for your super chat. Can we discuss Mikel's game management today? His substitutions were spot on. Also good of him to keep the likes of Havertz and Rice fresh. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I thought the subs were brilliant in terms of protecting players, in terms of giving new life to the team. I mean, Ethan is a perfect example. And yeah, Havertz and Rice. Look, we've got a big load of fixtures coming up. I think, let me just look at the fixture list 2 seconds.
We're playing every 3 days for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, so there's gonna have to be games where we go, oh, why is he not playing? Why is that player not playing? And I think today shows that we can thrive and we can do it without certain players, and other players need to step up. So from Tuesday we've got Sporting, we've got West Ham away next Saturday afternoon. We then got the midweek game at home against United. Then we're away at Fulham every 3 days. Then it's 3 days. Then it's Monaco. Then it's 4 days. Then it's Everton. Then we're into the Christmas period. So there's a lot of football coming up. I think, if it's the same thing with, I mean, we can have a conversation about White and why he's had the operation now, whether he, I don't know, we can't judge too much on that because we don't know what we don't know, but it's frustrating. So I'd rather, with someone like a Declan Rice, if he is having a toe issue, I'd rather just deal with that and go, look, we'll pull you out. And the fact that we do have a Partey who can step up, a Jorginho who can step up in his absence, and Jesus, as you mentioned earlier, with Havertz out, I think what was the phrase we used in the scouted, balloon touch. Had a couple of balloon touches, but in terms of his running and stuff, as you mentioned, it was top. So we're gonna have to use the squad, and I'm really pleased that Mikel did.
Absolutely. And look, it's one of his weaknesses. So obviously when he shows a day that he's able to do that, you're going to say, well done. It doesn't say that he's now suddenly solved squad management, but I think it's definitely something that he's been able to trust. And I will say this was a brave lineup. I keep repeating it. For me, this was a very brave lineup. And I think for me, when he's in comfortable situations, Mikel has always been a great substitute manager when he's comfortable. The problem is, I think when he's not comfortable is when the decisions go a little bit, okay, why are you doing that? Why are you doing this? But I think when we're leading 2-3-0 up, ironically, he has done well. And, the one thing I will say, I don't have any stats to back this up, but it does seem like he is taking off Bukayo Saka and being more proactive with the substitutions generally this year. I don't know how many times he's been able to complete 90 minutes, but I mean, maybe somebody in the comments will be able to report that.
Well, look.
But I don't think I've seen very many 90-minute games, and he is being more considerate of that, which I think is pretty incredible under the circumstance of basically having a team that has been riddled with injuries. So you maybe want to do that. But yeah, it's definitely something I think that he has, he's tried to at least do. I think it's better. It's still the 88th, the 86th minute. I'd like it to be in the 75th.
It's only 4 full 90s.
But yeah.
Including today, so that he went off here, went off here. I think he was up for the City game. Okay, yeah. So I think that was with the
red card.
Went off here. So yeah, he is pulling him off with 5-10 minutes to go pretty consistently. And that adds up. That's a full 90 of minutes already. Yeah. So,
it's the intent, right? And then and to apply that to other areas is what I think's important. And look, Timber looks great, and that's going to be a very important player for the next 3-4 weeks. I don't want to talk Tommy and Ben on a day that we really shouldn't. There's no use of that. Yeah. But yeah, that's a club decision that I think we need to talk about at a future date.
Yes, almost certainly. George, I want to close the show with this. Does he need to graduate to star man? Bukayo Saka, 43, has now provided more Premier League assists than Mikel Arteta with 42. Another goal and assist today. An assist for the Partey goal. Assist for the Partey goal, and obviously the goal himself.
Is he breaking the record?
Again, was just probably.
He's halfway.
Bro, how many times have we sat on podcasts and lamented the lack of the moments thing is not quite there, but the force of nature type player. I think we're finding it, man. I really do. I think I need a touch more sample from Saka. Maybe just in terms of not in terms of output. We've crossed that bridge. I mean, the sort of the force of nature who pulls Arsenal over lines. I think I'm beginning to see it with Saka. I just
Mate, that first goal, like again, I think people are being very nice. I think Martin Odegaard had a great game. They're being nice to him. Saka has everything to do in that situation, where he receives, how many people he's got to go through, the shot placement. He has shown countless times about stepping up when the team needs him to do it. And I just think that the team needs to work to platform him more, simply. I think that we put the ball towards the right-hand side, but we definitely don't act like he's the best player in the team. And we have a more collective responsibility. And I don't need us to shift from that. I like that humility in the team, but we can do more to give this guy freedom. We can do more to help him become the man that we want somebody to be. If we keep sitting there saying that we want moments, we as a team can facilitate more moments for him. And we can do a little bit better than that. But this season, again, if you have a look at all of the metrics, his performances, he's taken a step up for me that I think he's playing the best football of his career at this point. And it's gone beyond showing instances of a trait. Like, I think Bukayo Saka's story was, do you remember there was a time period where it was like, okay, he's downloaded this software update in terms of creativity. Yeah. He's downloaded this software update in terms of shielding the ball, the weak foot finish, in terms of finishing off. And I think now I have a look at his celebrations and it's just, yeah, I'm him. Accept me. Yeah. And yeah, I'm going to do this again kind of vibe. And it's just, it's amazing to see, mate. Like, he's one of our own. I'm seeing him become something else, and it's scary. It is scary. I don't know where he goes this season, and I don't want to limit it, but I really see him going into those Salah conversations in terms of importance to the team. And I think factually, he is the most important player to this team, more so than any other player in any team, to be honest, in the league. I think Saka's influence is just so great to this team's ability to play well.
I agree. I absolutely agree. I think he's got more goal involvements than appearances this season, which is absolutely mad. And when you consider that's appearances, not starts. I think he's already in the Salah conversation in terms of importance. I just think he's absolutely unbelievable. While I agree, I think we can do more to platform him 100%. We could probably do more to platform anyone. He still performs without. And he still creates things and creates separation and lifts the team. I know you're obviously a massive TDK fan, George. I went in my recent video about Saka. I went through the celebrations and was like, you can watch him go from sort of when he's first coming in, he's happy to be there. Ethan doesn't have this, by the way. Ethan's just like, yep. But Saka, when he's first scored, he's like, oh, cool, scored for Arsenal. And then by like 22, 23, he's like pumped up. And now it's just like, yeah, of course I did. Of course I fucking did. Of course. But George, final question. Fuck your tactics. How you feeling? I feel such a relief to be able to talk about Arsenal. Remember that we're a good team. You don't forget to play football overnight. And this is what I've been saying the whole international break. And I get people that are frustrated with the team. No one's saying there's no issues. We've just talked about some issues in terms of central access. Of course, we fixed some of those today. There's players with issues, whatever. Mikel, questions. There's always stuff. But that stuff is like the tiny, and these are the margins that might need to get us over the line. But we forget about this huge sample of being better than basically every team we come up against in almost every metric. Just look at the stat. Watch that game. Were we outfought? No. Were we technically outperformed? No. Were we tactically outperformed? No. And this happens. We have a huge sample of us doing this to teams, and this isn't this isn't a mistake. This is us returning to form. This is us returning to who we know we can be. And it's such a relief.
Yeah, I think it's finding yourself again. There was definitely a moment. There's context for why, but we were lost. Our season was lost in terms of where that momentum was coming from. And it's a palate cleanser. If anybody knows and anybody likes sushi, there's a lot of times that between meals, you take a piece of ginger in order to cleanse your palate, to prepare yourself for the next dish. And I just feel like this international break was the ginger and the Dubai that we needed to cleanse our season. And there was just a little bit of finding ourselves. And you know what? It's still not perfect. there's still some things. It was just the first time, and the first time this whole season that I felt from minute 1 to 90, it was a game of comfort. There was never a point of worry, and it was we controlled the game, start to finish. There was not periods. There wasn't a period of control, and then we have to look for something else. It was just a period of simple 3-0, and we need that robotic nature. And you know what? I'll say this: I wasn't bored because I'm a nerd, but it was boring, and that's a good thing. We needed to become boring.
Yeah, predictable in the best way. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for being here. Appreciate you being here. We'll be back after the Sporting game on Tuesday. We're back with the main pod with all three of us, me, Rohan, and George, tomorrow for the first time. Crazy. So looking forward to that, and we'll talk more about the game. Thank you guys for being here. Make sure you subscribe, like, etc., etc. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you, George.
Thank you, good sir.
Thanks for watching, and thanks for keeping it Arsenal.